Hey everyone, this is Dave with Unfiltered. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Relive Medical and Carol Semple Productions, and you can check out their information below. Hey guys, today's episode we'll be chatting with four-time Olympia competitor, two-time Arnold Classic competitor, IFBB Pro, Ivanai Vusic. She just moved here to the Denver area not that long ago, and she's working with Relive, and we were kind of helping her, getting her ready for all her competitions this year. Really excited for what she's going to do. So tell us a little bit about how you got started, kind of where you're from, because you're from Idaho or Iowa?
Iowa.
Perfect.
I always get those mixed up. So she's from Iowa, and she just moved here. How long ago? 8 months?
No, since July, so.
Since July.
Yeah.
Okay. With her husband, Brent Wilkin, who is also an IFBB Pro. So they moved here to Denver, kind of take part in our lovely little scene we have here with our competitors. We got great coaches, great trainers here in the area, along with Relive. So tell us about, how'd you get started in this?
Oh, well, I think it was freshman year of college that my brothers actually went to a show, and like, yeah, there's girls in bikinis, and they're buff, and they're doing shows. And
Why
I'm like,
not?
no. What do you mean they're in bikinis? They're like, yeah, in heels. So one thing led to another, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a show. So I got on a diet, and I was petite. My first show was 105 pounds.
How tall are you?
5'3".
So now, were you an athlete before you ever started?
Yeah, actually I was. I ran track and played soccer.
Okay.
Yeah. We've dug pictures out of me when I was like 6, and I had like bulging shoulders, like huge biceps. But I remember always when I was little, everybody would be like, your biceps. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't even know what muscle group that was.
Right.
So it was something, and my whole family has been like that, and very, very active. So one thing led to another. But yeah, I remember I would do, what was it that I used to do, seated presses, thinking that I was doing lats. Yeah, those were the days. But yeah, so I did my first show, and
What year was that?
in 2012.
Okay.
Wow.
So I remember I made my own bikini. Like I bought the bikini and I jeweled it, and then I went to Walmart. I still have it to this day. One of these days I'm gonna have to put it on and post it on social media.
Absolutely.
So they were like those kids' jewels, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, I glued all those on. But anyway, so I won my first show, and which I thought was so amazing.
That's great, yeah.
I did my second one, which was in Iowa. That was my second show, was in Iowa actually, and I always competed at all of Jack to Tone shows. So that was in the Midwest. And I won, and I was like, all right. And then I went to nationals, and actually I had no idea what an IFBB Pro was quite yet. I had no idea. I just knew that you competed to get better at nationals. So I went to nationals, and I remember at that time in our lives, my parents just couldn't quite afford to come to both finals and pre-judging, because it was expensive, especially for a family of like 8 people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and I remember them not being able to make it to finals, and I was devastated in the back, because I had no idea what was going on. All these girls, you know, there's so much, you know how much goes into competing and what it really is, and anyways, I went pro.
That's awesome.
Your first nationals?
Yeah.
What, did you do the USAs or nationals?
I did nationals.
Okay.
That's when it was in Fort Lauderdale before it was in Miami.
Yep.
And that's kind of how it all
Crazy.
started.
So pretty quick. So basically, you did 2 NPC shows before you went to nationals,
Yep.
and then turned pro. So your third show you ever competed in, you turned pro.
Yeah.
That's rare.
It's crazy.
But it was a
Now, was that
blessing.
in bikini or in figure?
In figure. I've
Okay.
never competed in anything but figure.
Okay.
I always tease my husband, but I don't think I could ever lose that much muscle to compete in bikini.
So that's a good question. So a lot of the people maybe watching this don't understand what
The
is
difference.
that.
Yeah.
So take away the guys, explain, both of you can, the difference. What's bikini versus figure versus women's physique versus women's bodybuilding?
I think the best way to almost describe that is a little bit of an overview and the evolution of where everything started, because first there was female bodybuilding, and that started in the late 70s, and there was female bodybuilding up until they started fitness, and IFBB started fitness in 1995. But fitness was going on in another organization. There was the Miss Fitness, the NFSB, and the Fitness America. And so those started, actually the Miss Fitness organization started in 1985. And Corey Everson's sister,
Right.
Cameo,
Oh, wow.
was the first two-time national fitness champion, and that was in the late 80s. So it's been around for a long time, but a lot of people didn't know what it was all about. So IFBB saw how big the fitness was. There were 100 girls in the Fitness America and in the Miss Fitness organization when I was competing before the IFBB ever started fitness in 1995. But they saw how many girls were competing. They're like, hey, we need to get a piece of that. And so when they started fitness, it was from 1995 until I want to say early 2000s, 2001, 2002 was when figure started. And the whole birth of figure was because so many girls wanted to compete. They had amazing physiques, but they didn't have the ability to do the fitness routine that required a lot of gymnastics or dance or cheerleading type
Right.
background. And so that's where figure started. And then you fast forward on to where there were a lot of figure girls who were not as muscular as what they were wanting, and they wanted to compete. So that was the birth of the whole bikini division,
Jeez.
was to open
Right.
up another category for girls that were less muscular. What year was that? I want to say 2010,
Yeah, 'cause it was
2009, 2010 was I
right
think the
before
first
men's
year.
physique started, I think.
Yep, and then you're talking about the men's evolution from bodybuilding. It's like the
Yeah.
girls are having all these divisions to compete in, and so I think the men were like, hey, what about us?
Right.
Give us a chance to
Yeah.
do something, and then they had the birth of the men's physique was around 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
But then female bodybuilding was getting so big, and there were female bodybuilders who were not big enough to be competitive in female bodybuilding, but they were too big to be competing in figure, and so that's where the whole birth of the
Yeah.
women's physique started.
So, but it pretty much for people to kind of understand more. I mean, that's exactly the history of it. But
Yeah.
to understand more, the difference between the categories is bikini is a very soft look, very conditioned glutes. Then moving to figure, you're gonna have you got two different posing routines right there. Immediately the routines change, but you're looking for more muscle separation, no striations. So pretty much they want to see every muscle on your body for figure, but not to be too lean, not to be too striated.
Right.
So that's where the game plays.
Yeah.
Fitness has the same look, except they're forming, obviously
routine.
performing a routine.
Right.
But then as women's physique is when we lose the shoes.
Right.
And that's when you have a full routine of, your double bicep, your every single pose that you go through that is mandatory poses. Then you have your night routine, and then the same thing for women's bodybuilding, just to kind of people understand the difference between
Right.
them. So even with but even as you can say that fitness, bikini, or not bikini, let's leave bikini out of it, but fitness, figure, all of that. Those women are what bikini is now because how
Yeah.
much it's evolved.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I disagree with the fast wave of this revolving, and there needs to be a little bit more. Okay, this is gonna be figure. We're gonna stick to it, and that's it. I don't care if someone shows up, they look perfect. That's not what we're looking for.
It's happened from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So when you look at the first Miss Olympia, Rachel McClish, and you see what she looked like when she won the first Olympia,
I
she
walk
couldn't-
around like that all year
She
round.
couldn't even compete with the bikini girls now.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
seriously,
Right,
when
yeah.
you look at
Yeah.
what she looked like in the late '70s compared to what the bikini
Even-
girls look now, and then female bodybuilding evolved, and
Yeah.
that's where they same
Yeah.
thing with fitness. When they
Yeah.
had fitness, the girls weren't as muscular. And then they started getting bigger and bigger, and they told us, you need to pull back the amount
I mean,
of
look
muscle.
at men's physique.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Same-
a
it's
great example. This
exactly
isn't just
same
women.
thing.
People sometimes are like, oh, well, I don't want to be a women's bodybuilder. This isn't just women. This has also happened in all
Men.
the men's categories
Yeah.
as well. Like these guys used to have a beach body, and now they're the size of what bodybuilders used to be
Yeah,
in the
I've
1990s.
talked to a lot of classic physique pros that have gone to competitions, and they're like, these men's physique guys, which should be a little lower, are bigger than they are.
Yep. Yep.
And it's like,
I know.
okay, yeah, I think they have to get a little bit of a handle on it. I agree. When you can cross over in a show and you can be figure and physique and you win both, it's kind of like. Now I get it. It's who shows up to the
It's-
show.
It's absolutely
What's
who shows up.
what's
Yeah.
there, but there's got to be some. People don't understand that. The average person doesn't understand. The behind the scenes and how they judge. So they look at this girl that's winning figure and she also wins physique, and they're like, I don't get it. It's confusing.
And it is confusing, but the problem is it's again who shows up to compete. And if she's the best figure girl that day, then she's going to win.
Right.
And if there's not any other women's physique competitors and she crosses over, she's going to win that too.
Yeah.
It sends a wrong message, but unfortunately, it's whoever's the
What it
best
is.
on that day.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But-
I mean, at some point, I think that it would be nice that they prevent crossovers like that. But now they've opened it up. I mean, even there never used to be crossovers allowed from bikini to any other division, but now you can. So I mean, I had a girl. it was a small show, and she did women's physique. She won the overall. She did figure. Did not win the overall, but she won her class. And then she did bikini, and she won the overall.
Jeez.
But it was a small show, so
Yeah.
there wasn't a whole lot of competition for
right.
her. And so it's like if she advertises that
I
she
think
won
it's
women's
great for
physique and
amateurs,
bikini,
though, because then you
Well,
can discover
you find
who you
it-
are as
exactly.
a person, and if you
Yep.
like this, if you don't like this, what
Yep.
fits you, what it's going to take if you want to compete in figure or physique, and so on and so forth, because things change a lot.
Yep.
So, but I think it's also great though, because I think everyone needs to kind of decide what is good for them, what's not. And you know what? Some of these local shows, as long as it's a local show, I'm totally supportive of, even people who are older who just want to compete for a goal and never been on the stage in their
Right,
life. If they want to do
absolutely.
every category, do
let
it.
them do it.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But it's different. I mean, you don't see that happening in the IFBB.
Well, and you can't do
No,
that in the
absolutely
IFBB, and I think what I think is cool about how the evolution has happened is that, let's say you turn pro as a bikini competitor and you've competed a couple years as a bikini competitor, but you do want to put on more muscle, then you can declare you're going to compete in figure, and you can be a figure pro and compete in figure, and you might get, which this has happened, you
Right.
might get even more muscular and
Right.
say, my goal is to compete as a pro in women's physique. You can end up doing that and kind of have a
Well,
growth
yeah.
over the years.
My
You
husband
know?
just went pro. He won the overall at Junior Nationals for Classic, and he's going to be competing at his first pro show in 212.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that's just the way it happens. And a lot of guys utilize that Classic physique to go pro, or even
Right.
just
Men's
with
physique.
men's physique.
As a platform to turn pro and
Yeah.
then progress on from there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told girls, I said, listen, if you have any kind of a gymnastics or dance or cheerleading background, then do fitness, because there's not very many girls in fitness. You don't have to compete as a pro in fitness, but get your pro card
Yeah.
in fitness, and then you can switch over and do bikini or do figure. You know?
Surprisingly, I did all the Arnold Sports Festival interviews at Nationals this past year, at Junior Nationals this past year, and it was stacked for.
Oh, yeah. For the when
So,
you
yeah.
get to that level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
these girls are phenomenal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Whitney Jones, she's a reigning champ right now. She's a good friend of mine, and it's like, it's her time's almost over. So it's like there's always gonna be that new,
Right,
So
yeah.
New one coming
if
on.
you
Yeah.
truly are passionate about it, you want to dedicate your time to it. Even though right now sometimes it seems like it's, oh my God, it's just
Yeah.
an unrealistic goal, because it is hard to get there to the top to be Miss Olympia. But if that's what you choose to do, I absolutely think you can do it.
Yep.
So what, we hear a lot, working with competitors, you work with competitors, Carol works with competitors, and not just pro competitors or national level competitors, but people that, this is on my bucket list. I want to get on stage. I want to compete, right? So a lot of them, what do you say to somebody who comes in and they have their plan? Their plan is they're going to do a local show, they're going to win that, go become a pro in nationals, and then go to the
Are
Olympia.
we still talking about an older person, or are we just
No,
talking
I'm
about
just
any
talking
athlete?
just the average
Just
person
any-
that,
anybody.
I mean, when you started, was your whole goal, I'm going to the Olympia? Or was your whole goal, I'm going to do the best I can
Well, she
today?
didn't. So she even said early on that when she went to nationals, she didn't even know that she could turn pro at nationals.
Right.
So when you first started, you were so.
I mean, but that was, I think it's evolved so much from
Yep.
then. Oh my
But there's a
gosh,
lot.
it's night and
Trust
day.
me, even now there's a lot of competitors who start and they don't understand what the process
Right.
is. They don't understand what
I
it
get
means to
them
be pro.
every day.
All
I get
the
hundreds of
time.
emails
Yep.
every day. Hey, I'm this. This is what I've done to eat. This is. I'm like, first of all, I don't care. First, I'm going to decide if I'm going to work with you,
Right.
because not everybody can work with everybody.
Sure.
And you have to adapt to every client differently. So when it comes to people who say these things, it's insulting. One, it's disrespectful to all the other athletes, is how I see it, and I tell them that is so they have a better understanding. But when you asked me, did I think I was going to go to the Olympia? Absolutely, Dave. Because in my mind, I still believe I'm going to be Miss Olympia. I'm not going to stop until I am.
Right.
And there's not everyone's goal. Might not be everyone's goal.
Right.
But yes, there's a lot of young people, especially. They're like, well, I'm going to turn pro and I'm going to beat this and beat that. Or clients are like, hey, this is my goal, but I'm going to be Jeremy Buendia. Blah blah. What? You are nowhere near he is. He has marketed himself. It's more than just that. But you have to be honest. You have to let them know the truth, what it takes. And like I said, it's insulting. I can't say, hey, I'm going to run and relive just like Dave and I'm going to have all these clients. No, it's a build-up. It's a time of getting to know people, of getting to know their stories, their experiences, and showing them respect and being able to learn from them. And a lot of people don't want to learn because a lot of people think they know everything.
Right
And that's
away.
the biggest thing.
Yep.
I have so many wonderful clients, you guys, but I have these talks with them where I'm like, you are paying me, I'm in control, and if you don't trust what I'm doing, then you're not the right client for me.
Yep.
Right.
And I've had some very successful clients. But it's just it's just the way you present yourself as a coach, how you're going to handle those people.
So what would you tell somebody that's possibly listening that goes, I've always wanted to do this, just never had whatever to get there. They want to compete. They'd love to do a show. We don't have to walk through the whole plan, but what would be the one thing that you would tell them how to start?
I would say research what is happening. I can even relate that back to when I first started in fitness. And when I first heard about fitness, because this was pre-internet,
Right.
and the muscle magazines, you would have a competition, and the muscle magazines it would be 3 months before you would read in the magazine who won and what the placings
Right.
were. But I remember reading a little blurb in Ironman magazine in the back, and it was Corey's sister Cameo who won the Miss National Fitness, and it was a little blurb about fitness. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to do fitness because I
You
was
had
a
a
gymnast.
gymnastic
And
background.
and so I'm like, this is perfect for me. And it took me probably 3 months of research trying to find the information out of how do I, what's this Miss Fitness organization? I mean, I did a lot of research. I ordered videotapes, and then it took time to get those videotapes in, and then I studied. I studied what the top
Now,
winners
so
were
you
doing.
started and you did it on your own.
I did it on
And
my.
you
There was,
researched.
but back then there were no personal
coaches,
trainers, because
right.
we're talking.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah,
1991,
yeah. Right.
1990 when I started training. I did my first bodybuilding show in 1987.
Yeah.
So I mean, there were no trainers back then. What happened is it was a pay it forward type thing.
Right.
You found somebody in the gym that had done a competition, and what they do is they turn around and help you compete,
Right.
and then you turn around and help the next
Somebody
person.
compete,
Yeah,
so
it just
it's
was
kinda-
always that kind of system.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of research to discover what it was all about.
Yeah.
What do I need to do in order to win?
Right.
I mean, I wanted to know what I need to do to win, because I'm not gonna go in
Yeah.
and play second
Yeah.
or third. I
When
mean,
you
it was-
started, did you have a trainer, or did you kind of do it on your own?
No, honestly, this is how I look at it. First, you look at what you want to do, and if you're just talking about a client who wants to compete, right?
Yeah, but somebody
Well, my
calls you and
first
says,
question-
I've always wanted to compete, where do I start?
Okay, so if that's what they're saying, then they already kind of know what's going on in the sport. And so then it's going to be like, okay, it's more than just being on stage, Dave. People need to realize that. This is when people start to develop mental issues. And they start to have, whether they don't allow themselves to gain weight back, this happens, that happens. They just want to be on stage, or their family becomes forgotten about because that's all their focus is.
Mhm.
It's balance, and it's so much more of that. So my first thing would be like, okay, well, where are you in your life? Okay, have you been on a continuous diet for longer than 4 weeks? Is my first question. And 99% of people are going to say no. So first, it's that. It's not, okay, I want to get on stage. Well, if you want to get on stage, here are the first things that we need to do.
Right.
We need to build self-commitment. I'm not going to hold your hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of people expect that. Well, I'm paying you. I'm going to hold your hand. No, there's no holding hand. I need you to build accountability for yourself,
Right.
which can be hard.
Yes.
So once you can do that, then I'm like, you're ready to compete. Because then you realize what you're worth. You need to
Right.
realize what you're worth.
Right.
And sometimes you're like, okay, at this point in my life, this is what I'm worth. This is what I want to be worth. But I know that I have so much more to do before then. And to get that respect, to get all of that. So that's exactly what I would say. But, okay, well, we need to start at step 1. There's not step 5.
And what kind of mindset would you tell? Because I know when we have some people come in, I usually try to let them know, the first show is always tough, right? You go in with a lot of expectations. And a lot of times, I mean, with you, obviously it all worked out great, but you're not the norm.
Yeah.
So a lot of people's expectations of how it's, I know my first show, David, my son and I, he's the one that came to me and was like, hey Dad, I want to compete. They have a new men's physique class. I want to do it. And I'm like, I grew up always wanting to be a bodybuilder. Couldn't get the food. I just didn't understand what to do. So when he said that, I was like, I'm in, let's do it. We'll do it together. So we kind of did our own thing, and I think a week out, I did some research and found a guy online who had a last 7 day prep to a show.
For the 7 day, the week before the
The
show.
week before the show.
It was called the crash diet.
I know, I didn't know,
What year was this that you guys?
2012.
Okay.
So, it was like, I read through this, I'm like, okay, David, here's what we're going to do. And it was like, in depth. It was, we were manipulating our salts and our waters and adding this in, and all kinds of different things that you're going, now we look back and go, well, we don't even really do that anymore. And we did the show. Obviously didn't turn out as well as we thought. I think I came in like third in the Masters category. I don't even think I placed in Open. But that gave me...
It gives you
a bug. You either decide...
It gives you a starting point.
I like this, or I did it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And we've had clients that have said, bucket list, I want to do it. They get on stage, when they're done, they go, that was enough. I'm good. I don't need to do anymore. And we just got the bug and kept going, and we learned and talked to trainers and got trainers. And like you said, people change trainers all the time. It's not necessarily because they don't get along with that person, they don't like what they did, but they maybe find somebody else.
It's an insecurity thing. They're like, well, what's the next best thing? If you continue thinking like that, you're completely not keeping driven to what your goals are. And a lot of people can understand this, and for people just gotta be honest. It's not the trainer, it's
right.
you. It's
Absolutely.
you that needs to put the 100% effort.
They don't want to take accountability.
Is it bad trainers? Yes, there are terrible trainers out there. Absolutely. There's young kids who are 18, do one show, and they're selling diets online for $500. Yes, there is.
Yeah, do some research on your trainers. If you're looking to get a trainer to prep for a show, find one who's done it for a while, who can tell you some good things. Maybe talk to several.
Here's the thing: when you email, let's say you email 5 different trainers, and only out of the five, only 2 respond, as in like a phone consultation. Those 3 other ones can give a shit.
Right.
Because that's already saying they don't want to talk to you on the phone. They don't want to spend the time to really. So, because people will pick up on your vibes, even if it's over the phone, and what kind of personality you have.
Sure.
It's so easy in our days now just to hide behind social media and texting. If someone wants to see my client, I want to talk to them.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of women, men, doesn't matter, that are a little loony when it comes to these things.
Well,
and it's a big deal.
Now with how technology has changed, it doesn't matter where you live, you can live on the other side of the world, and you can still get a video consultation. See, phone would be great, but I want to see somebody's face. So you can do any kind of
I already searched both of their Instagrams, Facebooks, everything before that.
And when you're talking to them, you can see their facial expressions. You can get an idea of how serious. Yeah. I think that's the way I would prefer. I don't want to just be emailing and back and forth and never see that person, and get.
What about a client that's like, hey, Ivana, I want to pay you up front for the whole year. You're like, okay. And they've only been with you for a month, so they don't even know how the rest of the year is going to go. But they're like, I want to pay you, and I just want you to keep me accountable and maybe do mini cuts every once in a while. But what do you call that kind of person?
Are they going to compete?
What? They don't know. They don't care. They might not. They could compete.
They just want to maybe lose 10 pounds and have somebody keep them accountable so that they don't gain the weight back.
That's exactly what it is. But so you get a variety of everything. And some people just want that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Those are my favorite.
There's
so many of them.
No, well, because those people are not going to be texting or emailing or calling you 24/7, 7 days a week, and being like, "This is so hard. I'm so hungry." No. Oh, there's a lot of the pre-contest, the people getting ready for a show. Oh my gosh, it's like you have to set boundaries. You have to really set boundaries and say, I'm only going to have a text once a day. I'll have a phone consultation once a week. Whatever your boundaries are. But if you let them, free reign, oh my gosh.
If you
they'll
set
totally-
those expectations in
advantage
the
of you.
beginning, they're set. That's what they are, and they should
I'm with
honor
you on
that.
I just
Yeah.
laugh because I have 0 issues with my
That's awesome.
clients, any of them.
Yeah.
My husband's like, how? So I've been teaching him. I'm like, okay,
When you
when
train your clients.
when you start up with somebody, you've
Right.
never met them, you're emailing back and forth, you establish respect immediately. And I won't lie, like I'm a pushover. Like I will do anything and everything for everyone. But it's screwed me over a few times in my life. So I'm like, okay, you know what? This is what I'm giving you, and then okay. If you want help, I'm here for you. I'll support you. You can contact me whenever. But you should have 0 questions.
Right.
You should have 0 reasons to get in contact with me because I've already taken care of everything for you.
Yep.
So all you do is read and follow.
Yep.
Everything, every question you might have, time, day, this, that, doesn't matter. It's been taken care of. So that's time consuming as well, but it's really paid off for me. And I love my clients so much. I mean, I have so many people that are like, oh, how do you do it? And I'm like, I love it. I love what I do. I create this passion that it can't stress me out. I'm sure there's been days where I'm like, oh Lord, how am I going to make it through today? But, but that's just people, and you have to understand that people's
Yes.
personalities,
Yes.
and you know
Absolutely.
what? Sometimes we're our own worst enemies.
Mm-hmm.
You second guess everything. You're like this, that. It's like change is happening, and you can't expect change to be there in a day,
Yeah.
or a week, or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I say 8 weeks. If you don't see results, then you're doing something
Wrong.
Right.
You're lying to yourself or you're lying
Yes.
to me. Both. It's,
Yes.
it's
So, so we kind of got off on a tangent. I want to finish this up as far as just real quick. Probably more for me than anybody else, but so Carol obviously competed in the '90s, was Miss Olympia in fitness. Ivana is competing currently, and I just kind of want to find out. We've already heard kind of how it's evolved into what it is today, but back in the '90s, I mean, because you've been to the Olympias too, so you kind of know the change. You
Well-
obviously weren't there back in the '90s,
No, not more than no.
so
One, no.
yeah. So what's kind of the difference in? I mean, we already know the bodies have changed, criteria for these different things, classes have all changed, but how has the environment changed?
So my experience when I first did the Olympia, I had already competed at the Arnold prior to that. So before the IFBB decided to have fitness, the Miss Fitness organization, the NFSB, also had an international, an IFSB, and they contracted with the Arnold Classic to have the Miss Fitness World. So in '94, '95, and '96, they had the Miss Fitness World at the Arnold before they ever had the Miss International Fitness. Well, I won the Miss Fitness World in '94, '95 before I ever did the Olympia in '95.
Okay.
And what most people don't even realize is when IFBB wanted to do fitness, they gave invitations to the top fitness girls to compete in the first Miss Fitness Olympia. And then at the USA's, the top 10 fitness girls at the USA's in July got their pro card.
Oh wow, top
And then
10.
top 10. But there was no height classes. It was all one big class, because when I competed, there was never any height classes. I mean, in the Miss Fitness USA in '94, '95, I was competing against over 100 girls. It was all one division.
Wow.
There weren't the different height classes. But trying to make a long story short here, when I did the first Olympia, it was in Arnold, it was in Atlanta, and we had the Mr. Olympia and the Masters Olympia and then the Fitness Olympia. The Miss Olympia was, I think that year they were in a different location. So back then, the Mr. Olympia and the Miss Olympia were never in the same location. They had them at 2 separate dates. The Miss Olympia was notoriously always the Saturday after Thanksgiving. For years,
Wow.
it was always then.
What
So-
a terrible day.
Yeah.
Oh, I know,
Terrible.
it was crazy. And so when I first, my experience of doing the Arnold and then going to the Olympia, I mean, I think it was anticlimactic for me because I really, and I don't think they, I can't blame them for how they did it. I just felt like the fitness was a sideshow.
Yeah.
We just were kind of like this side, let's just throw them in, and it was kind of an afterthought.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to feel like that was a special event. you know, and it makes me sad because it was all new for them. I mean, I can't blame them for how they did it. It was a learning process, but you see how it's evolved now to where the Olympia is in Vegas and it's all in one location. Now the Olympia has turned into what the Arnold was back then. So that's where it.
So
you know,
Arnold was kind of the big show.
Oh, the
back in
I
the
mean,
day.
well, the Olympia was the huge show to win, but as far as experience, the Arnold was such a huge experience because everything was in that same location.
And Arnold is the only one that